Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Opera House Art's third edition of Coffee on the Couch. Coffee on the Couch is a storytelling program which allows us to meet once a week with a beloved member of our community and slow down and focus on their life and experience and really talk about the stories that shape us and connect us. We are so honored this week to be joined by Laura K. Nicoll and Rufus Morgan Kreilkamp Nicoll. Both of you are performers, artists, and workers. If you would allow me, I have to just, subjectively, I adore the description you provide on your website. I would like to just kind of read that as a way to begin. So you describe yourselves on your website as "We people been doing creative stuff since we born. This is a creative company. Laura dances, had a brief bout with arts visual, and now helps artists put themselves out in the world. Rufus Morgan writes, draws, sometimes in trucks, sometimes on them, nails things together or bangs them apart. Laura, president. Rufus Morgan, also president. Both good secretaries, assistants, collaborators, supervisors, editors, you name it. Laura, more digital future. Rufus Morgan, more analog past. So the structure of this conversation will be a 20-minute conversation where we go around robin and ask you questions. That's the only love that text and the way that it seems intentionally
Hey Josh, we just lost your audio. Can you repeat what you said for 7 seconds?
Yes. I was just mentioning that there's no agenda to this conversation other than the 20 minutes that we have. And my first question is, I just love that text, and it seems intentionally written, and why did you choose to write it that way in particular?
Oh, and our timer is starting, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Laura, do you want to speak to that?
I guess I'll first just say that thank you for looking at our website as a starting point, and what are on artists' websites generally is something that I think a lot about. And so then when we were doing it for ourselves, it became this kind of not a game, but like there is like a play, there's like a playful approach to how we were thinking about all of the different things that we do and all of the different ways that we want to be seen. And so that needs to be communicated both in the language and also in the format, and also in needs to be sort of this form and content mixing so that if you can't read the words but you can see the colors, and if you can't see the colors but you can read the words, or it's a lot of feeling that goes into it. Intuitive stuff like trial and error. We edit a Google Doc together often and see how it reads to each other, and mix the words around and delete words and delete letters, and there's a playfulness in how we even write it. I don't know if this is answering your question.
Yeah.
Rufus?
Yeah. Some feedback that we've gotten about the website has included it feels a little mean, and I don't know if that's true or not. It's really nice to hear it received with delight and not meanness. But yeah, it was a really fun game to make that website. The initial spurt that sort of threw out whatever it looks like now, and kind of that tone has kept throughout, and it's I feel like it's professionalized a little bit, kind of just enough since it started. But it is. I think echoing what Laura said, it's really important. I think, or it feels important for all aspects of this. Like I don't like when I feel slick or like I'm having one on and like, look at me. It's like, no, this is like, I want people to feel the capacity to engage the most basic like technologies in themselves. And it's been like really nice to sort of nurture this project alongside like having Kate, like having the Threadbare Theater Workshop going and like having that sort of ethos echoed. So it's like, it feels in that camp to me.
I just saw Kate's gesture there. And that kind of like playfulness and directness also came through in your application for the Harbor Residency. And I was wondering if you could tell us just a little about the work you're going to be doing this coming week, and where the idea came from for that project.
Yeah. I think I feel like I've been attached to Aria Da Capo for a while and like pushing it on Laura a little bit. We first read it together one summer a couple of years ago. We were swimming and it was like just a fun activity to read aloud and hear it. And it's just such a fun play. Like I can't get enough of it. And we had talked for a long time about doing something with it. And then when Laura was here in February, we're like, okay, let's go, let's do it. Let's record ourselves and hear it, sort of bridging off a practice that Laura had used in other performance of like, let's just hear the script and get a rough cut on. And then that, like we said, there was that serendipitous thing and we were like, oh God, this is it. This is what we want to work with. And went and run with it. So
yeah, it's another, in that spirit of play, it's another way that technology has been really like a playground for us. And so we have a recording of the script that takes, about 20 minutes to just listen to front to back. And we started thinking about some movement that we would do to it. And so there's a lot more work to do and a lot more like experiments that we want to try this week, as far as like how to develop the movement, how to maybe think more about what else could be in the sound score in addition to the text. Maybe there's stuff that's spoken. It feels like just a long list of experiments that we're going to do this week with the material that we have and with the technology that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just want to quickly say, with Coffee on the Couch, we're all still kind of figuring out how this conversation works, and each one is different. And often I come into it thinking, oh gosh, what am I going to ask? And then just leaning, trusting the conversation, and just whatever comes up, comes up. But with you guys, there's so many things I want to ask you. But I'll just start with, I have 3 siblings, and I can't imagine making theater, dance with any of them. So how did your relationship give birth to a creative relationship, and how have you sustained that as adults in the world, or how has it grown?
That's a great question. Yeah, we get similar feedback from people about like the brother sisterness or the siblingness, and I don't know. It's art and performance has absolutely been like we grew up with Penobscot Theater and with like SFOA over in Southwest Harbor, and like just all like through our whole childhood, the regional and small theater and art spaces of Maine have been like, we're a product of it in some ways and have taken it and made it our own. And it's been sort of that mix, plus our own like family reunions, making plays as kids, and just kind of like sustained some of that, and really, like, again, in the same spirit as the website, wanting for like more that to be an okay thing for families to do together. And we started talking, I think our like art making relationship together has been, I don't know, I like in my like a little bit self-deprecation, I feel like I came around to it. Like, it was always an option for Laura, and I finally was like, oh, I actually do like dancing. It's actually pretty fun. And we, I don't know, we've it's been a back and forth in our relationship, and especially around like, I don't know, I feel like in like 2012 maybe, started hearing people talk about like, oh my gosh, I can't go to this family reunion, there's so much like conflict, and being like, yeah, and we could sit into the conflict and make a play, maybe. Like, we could try it.
Yeah, and I think it's been really, excuse me, I think it's to carry sort of the like more childlike activities around like, you know, making up plays in our grandparents' living rooms and stuff with our cousins, and pulling that into today has been you know, it's been thanks to a series of you know, people who've supported us and given us some opportunities, including Sarah Julie in 2018, inviting us to be part of her series Main Moves. And that was sort of the first time that we did like a show that was like, you know, like marketed, and it, there's one level of like, that was a pivotal moment, I think, for us to like have a deadline and have some amount of like accountability to, you know, a paying audience and that sort of thing. So there's this world in which it has felt like we've been doing this our whole lives, and then there's a world in which like the last few years have felt definitely more whatever, adult or something. And I've also just been really, I don't know, pushy or bossy or whatever the word is, about just like, I mean, when Rufus says like he's come around to it, I've just been like unrelenting or something. I've been like, no, like this is what I've always done. I've been performing professionally and choreographing and making theater and dance work, you know, for the better part of my, like, for my entire adult life, and certainly for the better part of my whole life. And like, I've just been like, no, come to this show, meet this artist, like, let me show you this process. Let me like, I don't know. So there's been that aspect of it too, I feel like, where it's been like, yes, I think you, Rufus, have come around. And I also think I
admitted I like music.
Right. Like, I just used to like force the musical theater watching, like, I don't know, maybe forcing is a wrong word or something like that, but it does feel like I have really, I've really wanted this. And so I've like, you know, done whatever I can.
Yeah. I want to tag on, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just want to tag on, I have also been thinking about it in relationship to other, especially with Aria Da Capo, and thinking about Edna St. Vincent Millay and her sisters and her mother, and the like, she leaned into artistry to support family, like, right, in a pretty radical way, and was making pretty radical art and like avant art as a paycheck. Like, and that, I think, keeping in mind that today, of like, we get to continue to lean in that way. And I think also about like, Laura and our mother, we went to an exhibit at the Morgan Library Museum a while back about the Bronte sisters. And that of like seeing their worlds, their tiny little books that they're writing to each other and inventing these worlds, and this like, absolutely, you get to inhabit this mythopoetic space, like in yourself, in your family, with your family, because you do. Like, that's the nature of it. And that's, again, just thinking about the emphasis on that okayness of like, yeah, you can inhabit the world this way.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if I get super like broad strokes and political about it, I think that it's art making and creative practices is probably the only positive thing, the best thing that families can do together and can provide for each other. So
yeah, we felt that way, I think, and said that one another of like, I don't know, sort of remaking our personal relationship with art over technology, and realizing that like for all of the hard things that people say about screens and social media and whatnot, like the best function of it can be that unabashed like push your like the good of your family, push the good of like the people that you care about, and like witness that and share that witness. And we can make this stuff too. Like we can make it work for us. Yeah.
You've spoken now about the connection of your art to your family. Can you talk a little bit about your connection to the Deer Isle area?
It was an accident, like a lot of people, I think, and not at all. Like I think about myself as a middle schooler coming over and playing soccer and basketball over here, and there was this allure of the long drive from Northeast Harbor in the bus with all the kids and all the noise, and coming across the causeway and spending all this time for everyone to play their games. And like I don't even remember, what was it, on the old middle school field or where was it, but I was captivated by Deer Isle, and like people talked about it over on MDI, like, oh my God, Deer Isle, like watch out for Deer Isle. And so when we landed here because my partner Liz got a job at Billings in 2016. It was because of work, and we didn't know were we going to be here for a long time. We didn't know were we going to be here settling down in the way that we are. But it's been for me just such a the opportunity to inhabit a place that is so like and so unlike home. I joke sometimes that I think like the primary difference between MDI and Deer Isle is that Deer Isle has better rocks, and I think it's true. It really does. But it's just like, it's in this same way. It's felt to me in the same spirit of the theater, right? Like every theater is a different theater and it has its own sort of crucible. But still, when I'm in a black box theater, it's like I'm in that sort of timeless space. And Deer Isle has felt that way because I don't have the deep familial connection to it. But it has served as that holder. Laura's been coming back and forth a lot more over the past couple of years too.
Yeah, I am in Brooklyn, New York right now. I was supposed to be in Deer Isle starting last week for about 5 or 6 weeks. And I try to, I don't know, I bounce around a lot. I'm in New York when I need to be and when I'm working here and making shows here. And then I am in Deer Isle as much as I can be, and also go visit other family and friends in other parts of Maine. And I like getting to know Deer Isle in the last few years has been really great. And particularly the people who are like making their own work there and also interested in what we're making has felt really, really exciting and very similar to the community of people that I have established in New York. And I don't know, I was just thinking though about that, like we used to take these long boat rides on the weekends as kids, and we like showed up in Stonington one day and like went to pulled up at the pier and got ice cream. And there was definitely this like middle school sports sort of connection. And then there was also this like, we can get there by boat thing that was really exciting and magical to me as a kid, I think. Islands, they're great.
Yeah, it's been really like the opportunity for this kind of synthesis too of, I don't know, I know it's not a competition. But if it is, then Deer Isle Stonington is absolutely the heart of this kind of interface between the craft world, the performance world, the deeply industrial arts world as well. We know about the fishing, and I just have been feeling over these past couple of years that there's this artificial schism that happens between those worlds, and is not reflective of the reality for anyone. But you have the stereotype of who's an artist and who's doing this, and it's like, hold up, there's something else really special happening here that I don't know. Like, I don't know, you don't have to pay attention a whole lot to hear some of the stereotypes about this place that are just so patently false or underexplored in that poetic sense. And that's where I've just, it's been so exciting to get to re-inhabit some of that on the deck of the fishing boat, right? Going out in the bay and remembering being a 4 or 5-year-old in this tiny little boat, like going on these adventures, going out to Idaho, seeing the Eastern Ear, and just inhabiting this space from that place, with the notion of like love listening to the poetry of the place. It's so, like, I don't know. I think I don't know all of you super well, but I don't know if, like, does that resonate? Do you feel like that's something you're hearing when you're here? Like, it's so beautiful, and not as though the stereotype is about the landscape and about the, like, oh my gosh, but like this crazy interclass, like overlapped, like, it's so rich, it's so fundamental. Ooh, there's a line from my dear, you're so fundamental. Sorry, Laura and I have been catching ourselves up with like repeating a lot of these lines these days, as sometimes happens in rehearsal. Sorry, I get really excited about talking about Deer Isle, and I know it's not mine, and I'm not trying to make it mine in the way that I think sometimes happens, but it is just like, it has become a part of my heart in these 4 years, and like helped me find my heart in the other islands too. So yeah, that's what I think about Deer Isle.
Please don't be sorry. And I don't think you're alone.
I'm bashful. I'm bashful in that feeling and being public with it.
I think we're at time, and I hate to say that because I have a whole bag of questions.
Yeah, we can stop the recording and keep talking. I'm happy to keep going.
Well, let's.
Wow. You could do a coffee on the couch XL. We can go a couple more minutes if you want.
I'll let Pear decide.
Sure. Yeah, let's.
We have 2 people.
What's that?
We do have 2 people.
Yeah, let's do a bonus 5. A bonus 5.
Bonus
5.
Yeah. Do you restart us, Kate?
Right now.
Yeah, and Joshua's up here.
Okay, great. Gosh, I'm hearing this language of inhabiting places, and inhabiting your work, and inhabiting kind of like a what I think you've said is like a poetic stance or perspective. Can you describe that in more words of what that means to you to inhabit a place, if you were to describe that in different words? I mean, it resonates with me, but I'm curious if we can unpack that a little more.
I've been talking a lot, Laura. Can you speak?
Yes, I can speak. Although my impulse in response to that is to almost like show you there's something about like being in a place that's very familiar to you, or being in a new place, or being in a place that's familiar but having something change, like sort of those 3 different scenarios, I think can be really great for like movement exploration, and like seeing what your body actually does under different circumstances and in different places. And I think that there's something about when I like go into a like more like I'm gonna purposely do some dance experiments in this place, feels like the best way to start to understand how I might inhabit it other times too, like not just when I'm dancing or something. And it has to do with this like sort of, yes, all your senses are activated, and yes, you're kind of like, for me, it's like about seeing what's already there and then making choices about what to add to it. And I don't know whether that exactly resonates with how Rufus is talking about like living somewhere or being somewhere. But I just have this feeling of like those kinds of dance, improv, experiment things where I'm really purposely being like, okay, I need to like see and hear and smell and touch lots of, there's like a super tactile thing for me that is about like understanding what things feel like, and through that understanding what's already there, making choices about what I want to add to it, maybe thinking really hard or responding in a really sort of like there's a really tight vibration as far as like what I have the ability to change, and do I want to change something, and like what like how is it being received. So there's kind of this also like third or outside eye, and I think that is a really great way, I don't know, it feels like the best way for me to approach being somewhere when I'm, you know, in a meeting, or being somewhere when I'm like at a party, or like it's kind of a more, I think there's a lot of global like ways or something like there yeah, that idea expands into just like being somewhere and inhabiting a place. Words are not always easy for me.
Yeah, on that though, like words not easy, is words has been a place that I think I have often hidden a lot and spent a lot of time, and they've been a nice service, and I love words. I mean, you know, I love words. Everyone knows I love words. But working with Laura has been an opportunity to inhabit my body a little bit more, and to have that kind of witness, to take that scary step. Like, holy cow, how many people do you know say like, no, I do not dance. I only dance drunk at weddings. And I don't think it's true. I love pedestrian movement. I'm like getting more comfortable in dance specific talk. So I don't really know. But that feeling of just like recognizing again over this period of time, as this relationship has developed, especially coming to Deer Isle and feeling the world, whatever the world is doing right now, of just recognizing like, I think there's a lot of distance that a lot of people are feeling from their bodies. And like, before we get into some of the harder content, if we can drop into our bodies a little bit more, where like this kind of theater practice and dance practice is really, really helpful. Feeling that situation. And part of it has been like, in this virtual space, inhabitants and embodiment in the virtual space of seeing yourself go through these inhabited movements, and sometimes having the like I don't like seeing that part of myself, and having to get comfortable with it and inhabit that again and inhabit that again, and like feel that sort of like gradual dissolution of some of those sticking points, some of those obstacles to inhabitants. I could explore this concept for, I think I will be for forever and ever.
Kate, are we at time there? You're muted, I think.
We are at time, and I think that that's a wonderful way to end the conversation. You guys have been so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great opportunity.
Wonderful.
And Joshua, can you invite everyone to stay tuned to their residency through our social media? I think we just did that, but
let's re-inhabit the invitation again and again. And please, everyone, we invite you to learn about Laura K. Nicoll and Rufus Morgan Kreilkamp Nicoll and the work that they're doing as part of our Harbor Residency in bringing life to Edna St. Vincent Millay's Aria Da Capo. And Please do that. And thank you again to both of you.